Hello everyone. Hi Miss Teeny. I currently have two bunnies. He's trying to eat my stuff. You wanna come sit? Oh, she got a little nervous. She's gonna run. I'm sorry. Sometimes they like to cuddle, sometimes not. And this morning it is exploration time. So if you hear any little chew sounds, that's probably the bunnies, and I hope you don't mind. Welcome to Yogi Tea Reading number 3. I will shuffle the cards, so to speak, the quotes, with my eyes shut. I'm sorry if you hear that noise. That is my partner doing some housework upstairs. I hope it just sounds like white noise instead of anything upsetting. I know I can be quite sensitive to noise, so I don't blame you if you are as well. Alright, that's enough shuffling. I feel like I'm giving the quotes a massage. Okay, I got one. Now, shut our little box. You want to sniff? Oh, please don't eat it. You got a little taste. Okay, let's see what it says. Oh, excuse me, son. It says, one day maybe it will focus and you'll be able to read it. Yeah, I don't think you can read it, but I will read it aloud. It says, never regret your mistakes. Admire the courage it took to attempt the unknown. Is that crazy loud up there? I can't tell. Hi, Mr. Bun Bun. Let's read that again because I'm getting distracted by all the activity. Never regret your mistakes. Admire the courage it took to attempt the unknown. I think that's a wonderful message, and we will put it into the pile of used up quotes now, of precious, beloved quotes that we will read no more. All right. I think it's easy to regret your mistakes if you feel like the outcome wasn't... Let's start that over. I guess in the definition of a mistake, there's the assumption that you did something wrong and the outcome was something that you wished hadn't happened, pretty much. And so, Mr. Bun Bun, can you not eat my precious? Distraction. So, hold on, buffering. So there's the assumption that the outcome was something that you did not plan for or long for or wish for. But I do think that in hindsight, when you get some time away and you allow yourself to feel the emotions of that quote-unquote mistake, it does allow you to have a different perspective, to see, hey, I live in a zoo. Hey, he's chewing this box. He's just a rabbit. It's just what he does, but good Lord. There have been so many things that I've done that I feel still sometimes cringy about or embarrassed about. But when I look back, I do think that I have two ways of looking at it. One, I can continue to be embarrassed and regretful, or I can say, you know what? I learned something from this. I am a different person because of this. If I feel like I did something that it goes against my values or my morals, then that's something I can reflect on and go, you know what, I don't want to do that again in the future. And I know what it feels like to do that, to go against my standards or values or morals, and I don't have to do that anymore. And we're under attack.
Hey, bud, can you choose something else?
Here, 1 second.
Can you do?
Thank you. I feel like this quote has two parts to it, and I don't know if they actually correspond. I think of a mistake as something you did without much forethought and it had an unintended consequence. It might have hurt someone's feelings, might have... I don't know, that's usually what I think of when I think of a mistake. And so you don't need to regret those moments. You can be compassionate towards yourself and say, I didn't really know any better, but because I've had that experience now, I do.
Hi. Hello.
And the second part of this quote is, you know, to have courage. Be proud of the courage it took to take those actions. Is that what the quote said? I already forgot what the quote said. Never regret your mistakes. Admire the courage it took to attempt the unknown. Yeah. I think we're just trying things out in life. There are certain things where, you know, there's probably going to be a consequence that's pretty clear. Like if you put your hand on a hot stove, it's probably going to burn. But most of life is just experimenting and figuring things out as you go. And why should we have to regret the process of living? And when it comes to having courage,
Hi.
here's an example. So when my partner and I adopted one of these little bunnies, our little girl, she's a lion head, very sweet. We call her Teeny. Her original name was Einstein, but as nicknames tend to do, they kind of stuck. Teeny stuck. I was a little nervous about adopting a pet. It was the first time my partner and I had gone on a joint venture like this. So it felt a little scary. Oh my days. My computer is sitting on a stack of childhood photo albums and they're just tearing it up. Maybe, you know what? That's the metaphor right now, is analogy. I was an English major and still sometimes I forget how to differentiate between the two. Like and as a simile, without like and as it's a metaphor, but sometimes an analogy. I think that if we cling too much to the past, it's obvious, but we can't really live right now. And so if you're stuck feeling ashamed I keep having like a country accent. I don't have one. Just watching this movie called Beautiful Creatures, and I love the accents, and I think I just started picking it up, but I don't have an accent, okay? At least I do have an accent, but it's not that one. So as my little bunnies are trying to eat these photographs from my past, I'm reminded that the past doesn't exist, first of all. Only the present does.
Hi, sweetie.
You see her little ears popping up? And if we want to have any chance of... Hello? Got distracted there. If we want to have any chance of happiness or the possibility of achieving our dreams, we really do have to start tearing up the past, so to speak. When you let yourself be defined by your past, you're saying to yourself, who I am is the mistakes. Like, I'm only the mistakes, or I'm only what has happened, which doesn't really make sense when you think about it. Does that make sense to you? And I know it's scary because hard things happen to us and then we learn, and it's like, you know, we experience trauma and then it teaches us things. But just because we experience that doesn't mean that we have to live as if it's gonna happen again and again and again. There's a lot going on in this room. Let's talk about courage for a second, because I need to move on. It takes courage to try something new, certainly. It takes a lot of courage to try something new in front of people. Exhibit A. I'm more comfortable now than I was, but I remember when I made my first YouTube video, I was sweating. And I think I deleted it after it was up for a few days, and I didn't post again for many, many months. And I think sometimes we need courage to do scary things. But at a certain point, if you're meant to do something, it's not even courage that takes you there. It's like you're compelled. It's a compulsion at that point, and it cannot be stopped. And so it's less about psyching yourself up and just following what your nature tells you to do. Like my little critters, their nature compels them to choose stuff. Especially stuff that I deem as important. It's almost like they know not to care about things so much. I have a little bunny, he's nesting. He's playing with the pillow. I think courage can take you past a certain point. Then after that, it just becomes you listening to your instincts and your nature. I think that after you finish this video, it would be super helpful for you if you wrote down something that you've been feeling compelled to do, but you haven't done it yet. Now, you could do something courageous. I always think of like asking your crush out. God, that was the most terrifying thing you could possibly do when I was in middle school and high school. What is it about those spaces that just incubates fear and anxiety? But it could also just be, again, something that maybe your heart has been telling you should do, even if it seems illogical, and you just do it because it's instinctual and you need to chew on something, you know? For example, maybe you are someone whose job is to make spreadsheets or compile data and analyze it and create reports. But all of a sudden you've had this urge to paint acrylics or paint cool landscapes or cartoon characters. And you've been pondering it for a while. But you haven't done it yet because it feels so against what your identity has been for a long time. I think you can let your identity shift and maybe show you that you're meant to evolve. Or maybe you're not evolving and you're just being exposed to parts of yourself that were always there, that were just hidden, that were just instinctual, but you never had the opportunity to listen to those instincts. I'll give an example from me, from my personal life. As a kid, I was always drawing, always coloring, and I think outside of reading, it was the thing I loved to do the most. I also really love to talk, apparently, or play with my stuffed animals, but, you know, drawing, that was very important to me, but I didn't think too deeply about it. I didn't think, you know, how is this going to help my career? How is this gonna improve my life in some way? Or how are people gonna react to this art? I think when I got older and I started to become self-conscious and aware of expectations people placed on art, yes, I did think those things, but instinctually, initially, I just wanted to create. So I think and so lately, after not drawing for many, many years, I've been starting again. I've been painting, which is something I never really did. I used to just draw with pencil. And it's been really wonderful and exciting. I'm not interested in making things perfect or exactly true to life. I'm kind of just trying to listen to the vision I get in my head of the thing that I'm trying to paint and give myself permission to play around and experiment. So I think what I'd like to say about this quote is that I feel like courage served you probably for a long time. And it might be time to graduate. Does that make sense? From courage. I think I remember hearing a long time ago about the different frequencies, like energy frequencies, and that courage wasn't super high, and people will say like authenticity is the highest frequency. So maybe instead of being courageous, it's time for you to practice being authentic to who you are. And the authenticity is trying to come through in these instinctual, or I guess you could say intuitive ideas that pop into your head, or like interests that are suddenly coming to you or drawing your attention. And it's maybe your authentic self is trying to shine through, like a dirty window, and suddenly it starts getting cleaner and then more light comes in. And it's your authenticity. So I almost feel like the past, the experimenting, the quote unquote making mistakes, it was about learning and growing. And almost like I'm picturing someone running with like shin guards and elbow pads and a helmet, and then they keep running, and slowly the shin pads, the armor, and everything starts to fall off. And like eventually you're just left without anything. You're just running freely. You needed courage to grow and learn, but now you're ready to just be your authentic self. To simply shine as you are. I feel like there's something else here that I want to say. I'm feeling like maybe these are the phases in your life where you were exploring the external world and you needed all of this armor, the courage to protect yourself, to learn, to kind of butt up against other people, explore, and now you don't need that armor anymore, and you're ready to look within and have what's within shine forth instead of embracing what was placed upon you. Yeah, I just feel like this quote is almost like, the word is stale, which sounds rude. I really appreciate this quote. But it's not, it's like advice that would have been really helpful in the past, but now it's not as relevant. Yeah, you are shedding that armor. You're shedding those elbow pads, shoulder pads, helmet. Wear a helmet when you ride a bike, okay? But you're shedding those, the pads, the armor, as if that was what protected you, and maybe it had to do with society's expectations of you, and you can now get rid of those. You don't need those anymore. Maybe you needed them to fit in, to survive. Like in high school, it felt extremely intense. It was terrifying to step outside the norm. At least that's how it felt, like high school and middle school. And maybe you've graduated, maybe you're like outside of the education system, maybe you're, you know, an adult, or whatever age you're in, you're now past the phase of your life where you kept placing these expectations that others placed on you. You kept them on yourself, and you're shedding them. And you're just so ready to be authentic. Like these these elbow pads once felt like safety, and now it feels like discomfort, and it's sweaty and gross and it's sticky and you just want to rip them off. And again, you're ready to just shine with your skin clean. I'm picturing, you know, like a roller skater with a short sleeve shirt and shorts. Again, be safe, okay? Protect yourself. This is a metaphor, right? But or an analogy. I'm gonna Google that after this. Hi,
Peanut.
that was my cat. She just yawned. That was really cute.
Hi, baby.
So you're really ready to just embrace your authenticity. Let your authenticity shine. You don't even need courage anymore. Yeah. You're just gonna be authentic and free as a bird from now on. Well, we got there eventually. I'll see you next time.